Welcome to Shaping eCommerce with Iron Plane. This is where we talk about e-commerce development, solutions, digital marketing, and all things e-commerce. Be sure to check out the description below each video to find additional resource links and show notes. We upload new videos each day. Please like and subscribe to our channel.
Welcome back to another episode of Shaping eCommerce with Iron Plane. I'm Tim Bucciarelli, the Director of Engagement for Iron Plane. And today we're continuing our conversation about subscriptions and subscription platforms. So today I'm pleased to be joined by Guy Marion from Chargebee and Brightback. And we'll get into those two names in just a moment. So Guy, thank you very much for joining us. And if you could give the audience a quick intro, your background, and what you do for Chargebee.
Yes, thanks, Tim, and I appreciate you having me on Iron Plane's podcast today. My name is Guy Marion. I'm the GM for Chargebee Retention, which is the product line that came out of the acquisition of Brightback, which I founded in 2018. And my background is I've been in vendors in the software as a service space, serving the e-com space for many years. Previously, Zendesk, the customer service software, Autopilot, which enables marketers and acquisition teams to grow e-commerce as well as B2B companies. And then I started Brightback with the objective of helping high volume subscription services, of which e-commerce is the primary focus, to reduce churn and increase customer retention and lifetime values at scale automatically with the same type of testing and technologies that are very effective and critical for marketers.
Yeah, and when I first learned about Brightback, it seemed to me like a pretty compelling addition to any subscription program if you're interested in reducing churn and holding on to your subscribers. So we'll get into that in a little bit more detail. If you could just give us a little bit more of a description of the two arms of this business, because as you said, in January they merged, Chargebee and Brightback. And what are the kind of functional differences between the two, and how does that marriage make for a better product to the end user?
Yeah. So first of all, a little background on Chargebee. The company was founded in 2011. It's a global subscription billing leader serving both B2B and e-commerce. And we have offices between Chennai in India, Amsterdam, where the headquarters is, San Francisco, Salt Lake City, and the East Coast of the United States. Over 1,000 employees today serving merchants from startups through to enterprise. And then Brightback, the company that I founded, I started in 2018. We were primarily US and European based in terms of customers, mostly fairly high volume logos and customers that are merchants that are fairly well known. And we, within Chargebee, maintain a independent and focused development roadmap that integrates more and more deeply with Chargebee, but also has integrations with Stripe Billing, Recurly, and Recharge, the billing platform popular around Shopify. Collectively, we have native deep integration, and Chargebee billing customers do receive access now to functionality that's not available on other platforms, particularly around offer management and revenue recognition. But we will continue to support the e-commerce ecosystem as we evolve and help merchants become more effective at reducing churn and monetizing more easily and with best practices that wouldn't be otherwise available.
So you mentioned you can service startups through enterprise. And I'm curious if you could, I know we're dealing with two separate kind of pools of functionality here, but I think your audience, your target is probably similar across the board. If you can give me some idea of what kind of use case would you say is like the target use case for your platform, because this is a pretty competitive area. Who do you think of as your ideal customer profile, let's say?
Yeah, so typically the ideal customer profile for a Chargebee customer in the e-commerce space is potentially working with Magento as their e-commerce platform, has either recently established a subscription business or is in the process of doing so, but is already operating at some level of scale, meaning that we typically look at for companies that have 250 or more cancels per month. So often they're in several million in revenue. On the e-com side, it's typically several thousand cancels per month. And we do think about volumes because of both the subscriptions that those would need to be managed, as well as on the Brightback Chargebee Retention side, we actually identify customers that are likely to cancel and then present alternatives in the forms of offers, personalization, and testing that our customers can easily apply without engineering to reduce churn. Currently, we reduce 23% of cancellation attempts, which tie to reduced subscriber churn, which is measurable not just in the first month impact, but also the subsequent repurchases that those e-commerce customers will provide.
Okay, so we've got companies with a fair bit of volume going through their subscription program. That's great. Or a company, like you said, if it is a startup, they view the next 3 to 5 years as having rapid growth to get to that volume, and they just want a platform that can grow with them. Okay, so what you described on the Brightback side, where you're kind of preventing these cancels, is that machine learning essentially, where your system also kind of needs a certain amount of volume in order to get that machine learning to put the proper offer in front of the proper person who's trying to leave for a particular reason? Is that more or less what Brightback is really trying to do?
Yeah, that's more of our future. Like identifying the right subscribers to save with which offers is actually a challenging problem, and one that's best handled by machine learning at scale. We don't require the volumes necessary for machine learning to use and get value from the product. So there's actually a lot of controls for early stage companies to create audiences. For example, customers who are on a certain plan or a certain tenure within their subscriber life cycle, say maybe the first 30 days, or they're still on a promo like tripwire period, or the first 90 days, where our customers can actually build audiences and say, I want to focus on customers with this plan, this stage, and this level of prior purchases, and create an experience for that user that maybe presents a stronger or a more compelling offer than customers who may be long-term high LTV or regular users, where perhaps a pause or a duration change or an extension or some additional credit is sufficient for those loyal customers, which is different than a brand new user who's still trying to decide if they like the good, or if they're getting the delivery frequency right. And maybe need to make some fine tuning. And what we see is that consumers are very responsive to the right offer at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, 23% reduction in churn that's pretty attractive, I would say, especially when you're dealing with thousands of subscription customers. And what's interesting to me, coming from the side of Magento, a lot of folks on the Magento platform might be looking to implement a subscription program using a Magento extension. And based on the complexity and the thought that's going into the Brightback and the Chargebee platforms, it's worth kind of weighing those options, because I haven't come across an extension that's as fully featured and as thoughtfully implemented with all of those configurations that you just described, to optimize average order value, subscription, and reduce churn all in one package. So it's worth for merchants who are really interested in building out their subscription program to consider the level of complexity and the value that complexity and those configurations can bring to their bottom line. I think it sounds pretty compelling to me. And it's just an interesting question for merchants to consider, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. As we were talking about a few minutes ago, a lot of companies and new startups in the e-commerce space, or existing traditional retailers who are moving into a digital subscription model, will start off with plugins around the Magento ecosystem or elsewhere. Some of the benefits that differentiate Chargebee as a whole, it's easy to try, easy to implement. We have free plans. We have entry launch plans, we call it, for up to $1 million of annual recurring revenue. On the retention and the Brightback side, we also have low-cost entry points for companies that are still in the very early stages, but need to gather insight into why customers are leaving and provide alternatives that they can learn from their customers and test a pause or a credit as opposed to canceling, even as they're ramping. What I was really excited about joining Chargebee is that we really can provide, by being an API first platform that thinks through the user experience to make it easy to try, buy, and use for startups, we really can bring what was traditionally advanced functionality reserved for the enterprise and the big players in town to startups who absolutely need the benefits of quick time to value, build enough functionality they can start to have different types of products and plans, test those, as well as gather feedback on why their customers are leaving.
And does Chargebee focus on one industry or another? So if you can break it out, like one industry might be like digital streaming, for example, right? That's one type of subscription. Another subscription might be learning, again, another type of streaming, I guess. Another subscription might be for coffee or for pet food. Does Chargebee specialize in any particular one of those areas?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great examples. We do absolutely serve, and we benchmark actually our churn data and our deflection and performance data across a number of core verticals. Consumer goods, which would include broadly, like you mentioned, food, whether it's baby food, dog food, human food. Education is a big space for Chargebee. Healthcare, media, entertainment, real estate. These are all spaces that we focus in. Health and wellness has seen a significant increase and rise through the pandemic, obviously, and now coming out of the pandemic. And then apparel and beauty, supplements, and even healthcare are each core verticals that we serve and have specialty sort of offers for cancellation alternatives, for example, and ability to support the unique plan needs within each of those verticals.
So let's just give a quick example. Like for me, I have my pet food, and I don't know if this is one of your clients. If it's not, I apologize. If it is, your lucky day. Chewy, for example, I buy my dog food from Chewy. Okay, and my cat food. Yep. And I have it on a regular schedule. So I am a subscriber to these products. And I go through and I frequently have to go back in and adjust my time. Like the dog ate a lot more than I expected, so I got to get the food sooner. Or the cat, didn't eat as much, so we get it later. Or I need to skip a month because we're on vacation. That's the model that we're talking about here for the subscription element of it. Then if I, for whatever reason, decide, you know what, I'm going to cancel my subscriptions. At that point, this is where the kind of Brightback tool comes in, and it says to me, okay, you'd like to cancel. Well, why don't you explain what kind of that scenario turns into with the Brightback tool?
We don't work with Chewy, but we work with others like Butternut Box is organic dog food. We have specific cat foods like Smalls and others. And you're right, it would be, in many cases, customer cancel not because they dislike that food or even the dog dislikes the food, but it's too much delivery or maybe a damaged delivery, or they need to change the frequency and they don't have easy options to do so. And so the natural inclination is I'm just going to cancel my plan, and then maybe when I'm ready to restart, I'll come back in 4 or 5 or 6 months. And so alternatively, what the retention platform will offer is when a user goes to cancel, we'll find out why. So literally survey, sometimes it's too much food or dog didn't like it or an allergy or some sort of matter that could be resolved with a personalized account review, or pause your plan, or let's skip a payment or two, or take some credit to try some other ones. Or maybe the dog died, which is unfortunately a common reason for churn also. And maybe that's an opportunity for the merchant to really build a relationship with that customer by saying, commiserations, and actually send a gift box that would commiserate that, and sort of, really sort of differentiate by establishing that connection with what's probably going to be a future dog owner again. So those are the types of opportunities that we open up. And, in the past, that would be challenging because you'd have to build logic into your product to say, based on this reason, present this offer and map those and wire those up to different changes in the subscription, which is typically beyond the scope of many companies to do that.
Okay, so you mentioned one of your clients. Any other clients that you think are particularly interesting to talk about?
There's companies like Freshly. They're a U.S. food delivery leader. Actually, were acquired by Nestle last year. They are, so if you go to cancel your Freshly plan, you're going through a Brightback experience. Again, there you can select and provide reasons why you're canceling, and instead of canceling, providing or taking some extension credit for the next few purchases, or pausing or stopping orders for 2, 4, 8 weeks are common alternatives that meet the needs of what the customers really have surfaced through internal testing. So, that has become very, very effective and critical to establishing their LTV to CAC metrics. Another example in the apparel space, maybe MeUndies, a well-known brand that provides underwear and garment, and both subscription and you can buy one-off. So I could subscribe to, boxers, and I could also buy a bra for my wife, for example. And so in that scenario, being able to both enable the customers to manage the frequency by which they're receiving underwear. Obviously, you don't want your drawers overflowing. So being able to pause, skip, adjust the number of underwear per package, or be tempted to instead purchase some additional underwear and get that as an alternative to canceling, have also been very effective for that particular apparel company.
I'm just thinking about that. That's a lot of underwear potentially. So I wonder, is there an element of your churn reduction where you say, hey, why don't you send this as a gift to somebody? Okay, maybe underwear would be a strange gift, honestly, but is that one of the kind of options that might be included?
Yeah, so it's interesting you say that. So we've got a company in the digital space called Babbel, which is one of the largest language learning platforms. And Babbel as a gift is a very, very popular approach for actually acquiring new customers. Is I want to help, if you're about to travel to Spain, Tim, I might give you a Spanish language crash course before you go there. So that actually results in an Amazon gift card being delivered to execute on that. And that's an example of where an alternative might be a gift that you can give to a friend of yours, and then you keep your plan as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Okay. And if we can talk a little bit about maybe some of the features that you see, and you've probably already touched on most of them, but features that you think differentiate Chargebee and Brightback from the competition. You've already mentioned a couple of the competitors in the space. I'm just curious to hear what merchants might be interested in hearing that distinguishes Chargebee from the others.
Yeah, I think that there's a few aspects. I think first and foremost, time to value and easily to deploy platform is a key differentiator. Chargebee started as an API first company, so it's friendly for developers to work with who are either supporting a code installation, or there's a portal and a completely self-service approach for engineering less organizations. So one differentiator is simply, Chargebee came about in the era of API first platforms, which means easy to try, buy, and use. Secondly, the integration with retention. When we started Brightback, we were the only of its kind within the space. So I was the first one to identify this as an opportunity. We've tested and worked and been fortunate to work with some industry leaders who were willing to put in effort and time to generate significant results, and have evolved from there into having approaches that are now self-service. Any company can apply to get benefits, and it's a unique platform. So, that's part of Chargebee's broader strategy, which is to enable high growth merchants who are looking to have a plug-in solution, not just for their subscription billing needs, but services for revenue recognition, receivables, retention and growth, pricing optimization, and to do so packaged in a way that they're friendly for startups, as well as more complex for the needs of larger organizations. So, and then finally, the integration landscape that Chargebee has, while most of the other big players in the space also have fairly robust integrations across many platforms. We support over 30 payment providers globally. We support have an ecosystem and a marketplace with built-in integrations to most platforms in both B2B and consumer, and those tend to be key considerations for joining Chargebee, which has been growing very rapidly globally.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Now, let's say I'm a merchant and I have done my own internal analysis and I've come to the decision that I'm going to be growing by leaps and bounds over the next few years, and I really want to sign up with a subscription partner that can support my needs. Are there a few key steps that you would recommend that merchant take in order to really properly evaluate and select the right partner?
Yes. Well, first of all, I think it's about identifying what the goal of the company is for the first stage of growth. If it's to have a single product, single subscription payment period, and relatively low volume, then moving ahead with a plugin in that space could obviously be an entry point. The other considerations we're talking about a few minutes ago, depending on the growth and the business opportunity, would be to move to a full-fledged platform from early on that starts easily, that will enable the ability to create maybe one or two different versions of the product, whether it's coffee or protein pills or CBD or food or dog food. Maybe there's a version that's going to be my dog food and my cat food. And maybe we want to do monthly plans, but also quarterly, because if you do a 20% discount on the monthly rate, you're more likely to both attract that customer and also ensure you get 2 more orders out of that payment. And so maybe you want a monthly and a quarterly, and maybe a for life plan as well, right out of the gates as a differentiator. And in those cases, considering a platform that will enable you to set up the plans that you need, set up pricing for those, and have an easy one-click flow where a user can select the plan, make the purchase, and then at some point, 6 months, 12 months from now, as the startup really starts to scale, maybe you need to evolve that plan. Maybe you need to change the frequency of order or the pricing on that. And so being able to accommodate a new price branch or a new set of prices without needing to bring engineers on to support migrations of your old to the new is a key consideration as well. So, 10 years ago, starting with the subscription billing platform was a much heavier lift than it is today. Today, it's about future-proofing that growth path. So plugins work well, getting something off the ground, but also starting early and planning for scale, particularly given how big the digital e-commerce space has become, especially through the pandemic. It is possible for startups to quickly. I talk to companies every week who have launched 3 months ago and are now signing up 500 or 1,000 new customers a month. It's incredible.
Yeah. Or some key elements of e-commerce have really accelerated over the past couple of years, for sure. As a Chargebee partner, IronPlane obviously could be a source of information if our clients or prospects are interested in learning more, especially if they're on the Magento platform. But for anyone else, where can they get more information about Chargebee and Brightback if they're interested?
Yeah, great question. The Chargebee website obviously has information embedded within it around the Chargebee Retention solution, which is what Brightback has become within the context of Chargebee. There's still a website called brightback.com where customers can sign up for a free trial and explore the retention solution, as well as connect it to their Chargebee billing account at any point. And then beyond those two, we also have help centers and academies for enabling future subscription merchants to become certified as well. So we have the Chargebee Academy that really is looking to bring the best practices and the knowledge that help companies as they're starting their transition into either starting the transition to the subscription model or really looking for best practices at scale as well.
And is on those websites, is pricing information available, or is that something they need to kind of map out and talk to someone directly?
Well, there's both options. Pricing is available for both Chargebee and for the Chargebee Retention Brightback services on the website. And then typically our company does lean in and support customers both during the sales and the evaluation period, during the implementation of the billing system or of retention, and then for ongoing usage in the form of quarterly business reviews and customer success, to help our subscriptions not just buy technology, but ensure that they're charting the right course to keeping customers of their own customers successfully buying the products that they need and putting forward the right offers and the right extensions that are going to help their own retention rates as they grow.
Well, I think this is a lot of information, and hopefully it's adding a little bit of value for companies who are considering subscription program and looking for a platform. I'm very grateful for you being on today, Guy. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to hearing more about the progress of the partnership with Chargebee and Brightback, or Chargebee Retention, I guess now as it's called, and look forward to working with you as a partner in the future.
Likewise, Tim. Thanks so much for having me today.
For more insights on how to improve your e-commerce website and for a free consultation, visit ironplane.com. Follow us on social media and like and subscribe below.